Um, I am going to get started though, just because, you know, we start on time. Adam is here, Lindsay is here, and so I am going to share my screen here so we can see the slides that have been prepared for today. Let's see here. Keep going. All right. All right, there we go. Just letting everyone know this is being recorded, so if you are joining us live, you are going to be recorded. Those of you who are watching will see what we are doing this morning and can forward this to the appropriate spot where you want to stop or start. So this is the grade 7 through 12 science networking workshop, and we have both North and South Collaborative people together this year. It's something new and different. Because we are able to meet virtually, we don't have to worry about travel time, which is incredible considering we have school districts all the way down to Adrian and all the way over to Lester Prairie. So we cover quite a large geographical section of the state. So this morning, I'm asking everyone, I see Krista's coming in, asking everyone to tell us what they teach. Just double click on the second slide and you'll be able to get a green box there. So we'll come back to this as people join and are able to add what they are currently teaching. It's kind of helpful to know, because you all teach so many different areas of science, to know which areas you are teaching so that you can have conversations with each other. So we'll have everyone do that. So we have some people joining us right now. I see Leanne is joining us as well. Everyone received an email with the Google link to the file. You all have editing privileges right now, which is a little scary for me as the as the moderator, because you could change all my slides on me, which I know you won't. But if you could double click on slide number 2 and enter in your name and what classes that you teach, and we'll give people a chance to do that as they enter. So I'll continue on for just a moment and come back to that slide. My name is Karen Schulte. I am the North Collaborative Education Consultant, and Carrie Jurdy is the South Collaborative Education Consultant and also in our room this morning. So you have both of us. You can see on the map that the school districts that are in the North Collaborative are in blue and the ones in the South are in orange. So if you're just kind of curious where districts are located, if you haven't heard of them before, there's a little map there so you can check it out. I do want to really make sure that you know that we have all the links and applications and websites that have been shared in prior years are available on a different website this year. We have this linked to this presentation, which you have access to. But as we call it, the Schoolhouse of Resources. And on the left-hand side, we have the elementary wing. And on the right-hand side, we have the high school wing with the people who are K-12 in the middle of the school. So if you're looking for specific links or ideas or things that other people have used, or you're just trying to find something new or something that matches what you're doing, you would just, for instance, click on the science one and it'll take you to a page of resources that we have accumulated from both the North and South Collaborative. So if we, like today, we have people share some great resources, we just continually add to them. So that's a live document that's being updated all the time. And as we discover more resources, we add to it. So just know that that is there. It is on the SWWC website under Teaching and Learning. But we do have it linked right here for you today so that you can go to it and then bookmark that site that for the science page will pop. So I would highly recommend that you bookmark that page for future reference. All right. Now that we have a couple more people in the room, I'm wondering if you could go to the second slide and add in there, you double click, pick a box, double click and put in there your name and what classes you currently teach if you're able to.
Karen, you might need to refresh. There looks like about 4 folks have added their information already.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much for telling me that. Let me do exactly that. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Carrie. All right. Let me get, my computer's being just a titch slow, I noticed this morning, and I thought, oh, good. Nothing like having a slow computer. All right, so we've got everything from biology, chemistry, physics, life science, zoology, human anatomy, college bio. So we really do have a variety of courses being taught. So if you see someone that has a similar course to what you're teaching and you want to ask specific questions, certainly can do that. Make note of their name, and as soon as my Google Slides gets back loaded on here again, you can see that. There we go. All right. So thank you for that. Okay. Just to let you know, this year we do have a Facebook group for the North and South Collaborative that you can join, and that we have a Google Classroom that we are using to house all the resources that we're accumulating for you. In the Google Classroom, you've all been invited to that, and I believe everyone has logged in and got into the classroom. But you'll see that in there that we have recordings, we have resources, we have lesson plan, the folders that we dropped lesson plans into from the past, and we'll continue to do that. So please know that that gets updated continuously. The recording for today will also get dropped into the Google Classroom. So if you have a colleague that was able to attend, you certainly can reference that to them as well. Just to let you know, this is a little different than Zoom, but kind of the same at the same time. Is that if you're not speaking, we've got you all muted, I believe, right now. And we ask that you share your video camera so we can see one another. And that to find the chat room, it's to the lower right-hand corner where there's a purple tab that pulls out. And then you can find there's a bubble for the chat. You can see the attendees and so forth. This is something that I put up here, not because I think I need to remind everyone who is in the presentation today, but to say, you know, when you're working with students and you're going to have to be online or you're in hybrid, that you need to put some ground rules out there and maybe be specific about the ground rules that you make, just to remind them what to do and how to act in an online setting, even though you might think that it might transfer over for what you do in the in-person setting, that sometimes you need to explicitly state what needs to happen in an online setting. So we're going to do a poll right now for all of you there, and we're going to ask you, what mode of instruction are you in right now? So a pop-up window should have just appeared on your screen, and if you put what mode of instruction you're in right now, that's kind of helpful to see where everyone's at. So if you're in person, meaning all in every day, you see the students. Hybrid, meaning that, you know, some of you got distance learning and some you've got in person, and of course distance meaning no student contact. Okay, so I think the two non-responding are Carrie and I. So we have hybrid and distance. Nobody is in person right now. Okay, and you all know that that changes every day or every week. We have to make a determination. So thank you for doing that. All right. Making your life a little bit more challenging, I think. So this time for this morning is really all about you. Giving you an opportunity to share with one another, to talk to one another, to ask questions of one another, and, you know, just kind of bounce things off each other. Many of you are only a two-person department, so it's really nice to hear what other people are doing. So I'm just going to be quiet now and open it up to you. And I'd like for you to just speak a little bit about what you had when you put registration, about some of the instructional resources that you are using and that you can, maybe share with us so we can learn from one another. So I don't know if I need to call on you or if you would or we just want to go in the order of you there. So Krista, would you be willing to just talk a little bit about what you had put down?
So I use Google Classroom. I usually use Zoom. I've been watching a lot of webinars. I put that on here, but how to use the breakout rooms more efficiently. For my 8th graders and my human anatomy, I use Nearpod. It's interactive. Those 2 grades can handle being out of the Zoom window. Even though Nearpod has a feature with Zoom, it's just easier if I don't have to recreate a Zoom link every time I have a lesson. Otherwise, the kids end up in the wrong Zoom link. And then Flipgrid I use as kids being able to explain processes. So I'm very new to it. I'm trying it for the first time this year.
I guess that means I'm next. I use Classroom and we use Google Meets. So every period, got to hop off one meet onto another. And the kids, I don't know, the kids do pretty well with that. Mostly it's just a pain to kind of watch them and make sure they're actually on the meet and interacting instead of like playing video games or something like that or watching Netflix in the background. My little, when you change that, I forgot what I wrote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll share my screen again.
No, I'm different. I split my screen, so it'll be fine.
So you talked about the Google Teacher Certification course.
Right, I took that last summer, this past summer, and it has a lot of neat little tips and tips that really help with my day-to-day stuff. I guess it's nothing like groundbreaking, but just scheduling different things and incorporating the different parts of Google Suites into what I do. It covers everything.
And I'm going to ask Krista, when you do Zoom, I finally figured out that in Zoom you can go back and edit your meeting that you set up so that you can use the same link over and over. You just have to change the date and the time to be your newer time, and then they can keep the same Zoom link so that you don't have to worry about them getting the right one. I'm not sure if you've ever done that before.
Yeah, I have, and for some reason my Zoom account doesn't. I went to a Zoom thing even, and for some reason my account it doesn't let me. The last time I tried doing that, the IT man spent an hour and a half fixing my link. So he doesn't know what's going on. We even had to talk to Zoom themselves, and they didn't know what's going on. They had an idea, but they didn't really simplify it for me to understand, I guess, what was really going on.
Shoot. Oh, shoot. I thought that would be a good solution. Darn.
Yeah.
And do you have any, what's something you use all the time in Google that you kind of, maybe you already knew or maybe you learned in that course that we might not know?
I don't know. I think for me, just some of the aspects of the Google Classroom, setting up different assignments and linking different things to those assignments, and then I have multiple sections, so like being able to copy over and not completely have to remake assignments in Google Classroom. That's something I guess I didn't know before, but that really helped. I know all the scheduling and different things, but I don't know if that's much help.
Sometimes it is just once you get in and use it. I think for me, this isn't a Google thing, but the command Control Z has been my lifesaver in my work because I can undo anything I'd mess up.
Right. I like teaching the kids all kinds of shortcuts, especially keyboard shortcuts, because they're like, what? They see me doing it on the screen. They're like, how'd you do that? It's like, it's a keyboard.
Even something as simple as just doing a screenshot sometimes, you have to be like, oh yeah, what's the command for that again? Or I actually loaded something on my computer to do it like I do a Shift F11, but now I found out last night that, if you do a Windows, what was it, a Windows Shift S, that's a screenshot, which I did not know. So it seems like you're always learning something.
Yeah, especially all of my devices for teaching are Mac, Apple product, and all the kids are using Chromebooks. So you learn, like, it's like this on Mac, but I don't know exactly what it is on a Chromebook. So sometimes that can be frustrating.
Absolutely. I wondered, we have a poll that just popped up, Carrie put up for us. What platform are you using? Just wondering if people are all using Google Classroom or doing Schoology, or if there's something else that you're all using. If you wouldn't mind doing that poll quickly as we are sharing out here. Are you able to see it, everyone?
It came up as no responses, and it wouldn't let me click on it.
Let's see.
Now it came up again.
Okay.
It's not letting me click on it, though.
Oh, okay. Jerry, do you want to try that again? And then while you're doing that, is Brittany on this morning? Otherwise, I know Leanne is. Leanne, do you want to share what you had put out for instructional resources?
Yeah, Brittany couldn't make it this morning, so I'm going to actually talk a little bit about hers too, because she's usually more thorough than I am. When we were hybrid, I went with the headset because I had kids, on my screen and in front of me at the same time. And, walking around the room, like Evans, I had a student that told me before I got the headset, they couldn't hear me as I got farther away. So that has helped a lot. Now that we're all distance learning, I don't need it because everybody's on the screen. Let's see. Jamboard that Brittany talks about. I don't know if anybody has tried that, but I just did it with my 7th graders, and they're in heaven. They get to. Do you guys know what it is? It's a Google app, and it's a whiteboard, and I had them create some graphic organizers to help them remember parts of the cell theory and the scientists and their discoveries. And I also have the advantage, and neither one of us, it looks like, put this on there. We have GoGuardian at school, so while the kids are working, and they're always in Google Meet when they join the class, I can actually be watching on GoGuardian their screens and make comments through Google Meet. I can click on the chat as part of GoGuardian and help them as they're working on something. So that's been a lifesaver because I didn't have that wisdom last spring. And both Brittany and I have got the Kessler Science. The school bought us both that curriculum, which again, that has been terrific for our 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Google Forms, yep, I use that too within there. I haven't used Flipgrid much since the beginning of the year. We started hybrid, went all in, and now we're distance. So that's about what I've got.
Can I ask, is the Jamboard, is that a subscription that needs to be purchased?
No.
Or is it free? It's free.
It's free. If you go over to, the apps in your G Suite and you scroll way down, there it's Jamboard. It's there, and when you click on it, it takes you to another part of another page of the suite, and you can share it with the kids. I actually, when I had them work on it Tuesday and Wednesday, I put it into Google Classroom as an assignment where they got to, this time I had them make their own. You know, you guys know with Google Classroom, you can choose and have smaller groups together if you want. And so I'm excited about that because they really jumped on that. That was, I mean, it definitely had them engaged.
I think it's kind of like Padlet somewhat.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I don't know. I was under the mistaken impression you had to have a subscription to that one, so that I learned something new, Leanne, this morning. So thank you. Lindsay, how about you?
Well, I have started, and I don't know, it doesn't look like anyone here else is using this curriculum, but I jumped into the iHub biology curriculum in Colorado, and it's very storyline, phenomenon, and GSS based. It's quite a bit different than normal, or like our traditional, but I'm really liking it. There is actually a distance learning slides. It's been adapted for distance learning through slides. Louisiana actually did that. So I've been using that, and I use Pear Deck to get the kids interactive with me. Basically, Pear Deck, if you use any Google Slides, that you can add the interactive piece to any slide, and it'll push out like a question. It won't really push it out. You go through, you put it on there, and then you link, like I send the link, or you can have them join for the code. And then as you go, it's kind of like a Nearpod, very similar to Nearpod. Let's see. We are also using Securely for monitoring the Chromebooks of the students, which are really nice because we can see them then in school and out of school. There are some hiccups with that, but that's been helpful. And on Google Classroom, I really like the to-do list, or my to-do list, and for grading, and grade transfer. So if you grade in Google Classroom, and if you use, I don't know if it's just Infinite Campus or which other grading systems it'll work with, but it will transfer your grades. It'll basically copy the list of names and grades, and then you can paste it into Infinite Campus. And so that's been really great.
That would be a real time saver, wouldn't it? Does anyone else have anything that transfers from Google Classroom over to your system?
This year's our Synergy does. It has a Google Sync that's pretty slick. It'll populate our Google Classrooms with the students, and the only thing is like assignment, like the whole weighting grades and things like that is a little iffy, but at least the numbers and the assignments are in there.
Lindsay, the hybrid or the iHub biology, is that, I mean, something you purchase then as a full curriculum?
It's actually free. So I was, I'm here in Adrian, and we're pretty small. So I was looking for free online stuff, storyline based. And I found basically two options. And there's some Facebook groups out there that are awesome. iHub is developed out of Colorado. And if you just Google search iHub Biology, it's a free Google Drive, and it has all the resources. It even has them in Spanish. It has a full year's curriculum, and it's divided into 3 units. And it will, I haven't looked at how it specifically lines up with the new Minnesota standards, but it's NGSS based, so it's really, really close. And then there's another one that I had found on HHMI Biointeractive, and it's called, that one's based more on animals, and it has smaller units. And I really haven't tried that. it sounds like on the Facebook groups that I've looked at that some people like that one better and some people like iHub better. If you're looking at iHub or considering that, I would definitely look at the Louisiana Believes, or I can share a link with that, because that is all adapted onto slides. So that's very convenient.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, if you could throw that link in there in the chat room, that would be wonderful, Lindsay. I appreciate that. When you were registering, you also had an opportunity to say, you know, I need help this, or does anyone know about that? So if you want to speak, maybe we'll just go back in the same order again that's on the slide, of just maybe explaining a little more what you're looking for, or, you know, opening up the discussion to help you out. So Krista, do you want to give it a go?
So I missed out on the first time of distance learning because I had my son, and right before everybody went to distance learning. So I feel like I missed the curve, or so to say. And so I'm really having trouble getting students to engage during distance learning. Just even sometimes getting them to turn their screens on is like pulling teeth. So I have trouble with that, even though our district has kind of made it, has mandated that policy. I still have trouble. Also having trouble with kids just turning in homework. It seems like in all my classes I have 10 or maybe 12 kids who are on task and they're doing really well, and then all of a sudden I have all of them, and then everybody else is not either turning in their homework, they're doing it, but they just don't submit it. And I've been having a huge trouble with adapting any kind of labs to be virtual. So that's kind of what I'm struggling with.
I would second that.
Yeah. Oh. Anyone have any ideas or suggestions, perhaps? We can just kind of bop back and forth, you know, some discussion here of how it will handle that.
One small piece would, with Pear Deck, when they're on the Google Slides, they can respond in real time, whether they're at home or in school, which is reasons I was using it.
I know we've had the conversation too about the screen turning on, that some students don't want people to see where they live or what their surroundings are. So that's a tricky one to, you know, as much as you want to be able to see their faces, it might not be something that they want to do simply for that reason, you know, because we're kind of welcoming people into your home based off of where you're sitting and what's around you. So that's a tough one. Because sometimes you're just teaching to a black screen, of a wall of black screens. How about for homework turning in? Anyone find any creative way or ways to get students to turn in the work? I feel like I should have a recording of crickets so that I can play that.
The other thing that I have heard in some of the webinars in regards to the camera turning on is that it's not normal to look at yourself for 8 hours a day, and that also plays a factor in students not wanting to turn on their cameras. So a suggestion I've heard is teaching the students how to turn off their self view, which they can do in like Zoom or Google Meets, so that you can still see them, but they don't have to look at themselves for that whole of the 8 hours. I know it's not 8 hours, but you know, for a whole day.
How about what Krista was asking about? How do you get the labs that you were going to be doing? How does that transfer to virtual? Does anyone have any found anything or have come up with any ideas or even something maybe you haven't explored yet?
I actually have like quite a few students who are home, like they're not in school ever, and so replicating the lab is definitely a challenge. I try to like modify it to either like a video of the data collection and the procedure, or modify it in a way where it's not necessarily interactive, but they're still getting the same data, but in a different format.
Okay. Adam, you to what you had that you wanted some input?
I'm just really struggling, and it's pointed out like split in 2 days, and they don't see some of those people, and just better ways to get them to work with somebody who's not in the room, and it's kind of challenging. In my experience, the Google Meets that we're using, there's like a 3-second delay with some of the kids, and I don't know, it just seems to be a little bit of a challenge getting something to smoothly work between kids in person and kids.
And has anyone a different, I don't know where I heard it from, we're talking about assigning someone who's in class with someone who's at home, like in a Zoom breakout. Has anyone tried that, or are you not, are they not in at the same time?
I can talk on this because I've been playing around with the break rooms, and so I have distance learners, and then my kids go 5 days a week, and so I have we call it the red day, so they go Monday, Tuesday, everybody's distance learning Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, and so me being fully distanced because of health, um, it doesn't matter if they're home or not. I've had them do post like little mini presentations, give them 15 minutes to put together their train of thought and then present it. So it's worked with everybody in different places. That's what you're asking.
It's a great idea.
Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I have to let the kids into my Zoom class.
No problem. Leanne, I think she had to take a call, but I hope you're back. I want to, talk about what you're looking for input from.
Let's see. So we use Google Meet because it's so easy for the kids since we're in the G Suite, right? But has anybody seen, I don't think it has the ability to do the breakout rooms like Zoom does, right? Anyone?
I actually this morning looked into that, and I put a link in in the chat, and I haven't used it myself, but it's an extension that someone created to do that. So it's an idea, but it's an untried idea, Leanne.
Okay. And I think I'm very fortunate that in my 2 sections of life science, I have a para who has set up, and I should say this, at McRae, at the high school, for distance learning, all of the paras have their own separate Google Meets. And so when when after I'm done presenting, she will actually leave my Google Meet, and our students that work with her leave, and then she actually has her own Google Meet, which, you know, how ideal is that, right? You've got the adult and you've got the kids, so that works. But I'll have to look into that extension for doing it with, you know, the rest of the class, just to break them into smaller groups. Because I know, like with, you know, Google Slides and Doc and now Jamboard, I can make small groups where they work together, but they all start talking at once. It just makes my head hurt. So
Sorry to pop in. I'm not sure really how to make comments on this this format. I have to leave, and I will send Karen the link for the Louisiana Believes version of iHub.
Thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate that. I know she has coordinating assessment opportunities while in hybrid. And Adam has to open his room up too as well. So looking at some of the social emotional needs that, you know, trying to, you know, meet the needs of our students, because they are really in a stressful situation just as you are, and that how do we address some of their needs, or if we have any ideas here. I'll let you, whoever's left in the room, and just speak, and if it wasn't something that you would put down in registration, you can add something, a new idea or question now too.
you know, I have found, and I think, was it Lindsay maybe who talked about attendance questions? Everything's such a blur. But I will do that too. And it can be, you know, it can be so many different things. The things that are pretty random, like yesterday I asked them if they had a choice, would they choose vegetables or fruit for a year? You know, if you could eat anything, but when it came to those two, you had to choose one or the other. To talking about, I call it, you know, the rose and the thorn. So something good in that's going on with you, and something not so good. And it's not science, you know, it just gets them talking about what's going on, and gets their frustrations out, I think, sometimes about not being in school or not being able to participate in activities, which is, you know, again, that's that SEL part, right? Because I think it's just, I get so frustrated because it is, like you said, Karen, it's so hard on everybody. Kind of keep talking, right? I'm supposed to, what did Hamilton say? Talk less, smile more. But I think about schools that go 5 days. So McRae's a 4-day a week. We go from 8 to 4 with students. And maybe, and some of you other teachers can tell me this. So I've heard from some of my colleagues in other schools, with their 4-day week, if they're distance or hybrid, they have either Fridays or Wednesdays where, I don't want to call it an off day, it's a teacher day. It's like or a half a day where the teachers get to kind of regroup and get ready. Yeah, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not a Netflix day by any means, but it's a day where you're not expected to be on, but yet you have that, you know, that day to gather yourself, do some prep, grade something. And I just was thinking, shoot, you know, as much as I love 4-day weeks, we are missing that fifth, that half day, which concerns me, just because I talked to my colleagues at McRae, and we are just, you know, you get to that burnout, that edge, that deep sigh, and we don't make time for ourselves, and I'm guilty of that. So there's me for rambling, right?
No, not at all, because you're right. Like also like Hector, I know that they on Friday afternoons are no longer have students with them so that they can take time for their PLCs and to regroup. I know both you probably can talk about that. Wednesday is a non-student contact day for those who are in the building too.
But we still have to have the kids in the classroom.
Right,
And
but
we're supposed to be, so what we're supposed to use it for is like homework help, and we're not really supposed to teach anything new, but we can use it as review. And so I don't get a down day because my kids are demanding. They're like, I don't understand this, or can you go through this? So I don't get a day to regroup really. It's more of a okay. Now I feel like I'm reteaching every Wednesday. So that's not fun. I wish I did have time to have downtime to even just modify my curriculum I have already created just to make it more virtual friendly, but I don't have that time.
it might be something worth bringing up with the whole staff, of just brainstorming some ideas of what could you do to work in the schedule somehow. I do think that administration is very supportive of unique ideas or things that'll keep well too, because they're very worried about you. Quite honestly, in conversation we've had with administration, they really want to keep you healthy and going because you're so important. If you go down, teaching really does come to a grinding halt for students. So we do want to take care of you as well. Okay.
One thing I want to add, I do with my kids, I have an open lunch. So I'd say all my classes except for my 8th graders, we have the same lunch period. And so I usually have about 10 to 20 kids that join me every day for lunch, and we just eat in front of our screens and we talk about what's going on at home and anything that's important coming up in their life. A lot of things that's been happening with my students is a lot of grandparents are dying, which is very so we just talk about a lot of life during my lunch.
Wow, that's really nice that you have that open up to them, because quite honestly, that really does make that connection with them that they otherwise wouldn't make, because they don't get to see you, in the building too. So that's really nice. Any other questions you have for each other, since there's just two of you left now? I don't want to keep going on slides. If you have things that you want to talk about or you have questions for each other that we could just put out there.
What was the one, like which school districts have that half day for curriculum and just like the teacher part?
BLHS, I know at the elementary, has a Friday afternoon where the teachers get together in their PLCs and do planning. It's actually on their website, I think, even described, but the elementary has that piece right now.
I wouldn't be able to name the schools, but I do know that there are schools who in their hybrid or distance built in additional time. So it's either a half day for teachers or every Friday. So there are, like I can't name them, but there are quite a few that have done something like Deanne mentioned.
I think YME is going to that. I was talking with a couple of teachers in my grad class last night, and Stewartville, they were saying that, and a lot of this for some schools is just happening as the progression occurs, because as we all know, back in July and August, school boards were helping figure out what everything was going to look like, and they were so sure that it was physically and emotionally possible to have a class on your iPad or screen and have kids in front of you, and that was going to work, right? And it doesn't. Here's a question too. I know that like Hills Beaver Creek, Marshall, Edgerton, and my son teaches in Harrisburg, South Dakota. At the beginning of the school year or before it started, they asked parents, are your kids coming to school, or do you choose distance learning? If you choose distance learning, we're going to put you through another program, like Edu something, right? Can't think of the name. Which is great, right? Because then you can just take that group of kids and not worry about them. But now, and I think this is where that the boards have had to switch gears, is, well, wait a minute, we've got 20 kids on quarantine, and we're not paying for 2 weeks to put them into that program. So how does the classroom teacher do both and do it well? So that's another twist.
It is, because KMS is the same thing. They hired a different, I think it's that Edu, you're right, I can't remember the name either. Yeah, so the same thing is happening, like you just said, though, is that suddenly you have all these kids on quarantine that are in your class that you are now doing it anyway. So you're completely right. You know, that I think that was something that really wasn't thought of until it happened, you know. So I don't know if there's any answers right now, you know, to that. It's just everyone kind of learning as we go type of a thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. So we're just, I'm sure, I bet we'll go. I'll bet we'll go next week more distance learning. We just switched to it last week and this week because of numbers of kids that are quarantined. But already at the beginning last week, we had some parents, I guess, that contacted the administration that were concerned about screen time, which is a legitimate concern. But I also, that little nasty person who sits on my left shoulder is going, you're concerned about screen time, about social media and YouTube and games. But you're concerned if we want to interact or try and interact with your son or daughter in an educational setting, okay. I don't know. Like I said.
No, yeah, I do think that that's a legitimate thing, though, because in the past, all screen time was entertainment for students and parents. So now to have that mind shift of now I need to use it for education, plus I still want to use it for entertainment and have that time too. Now the sheer amount of time on screens suddenly becomes an issue, and instead of getting rid of the entertainment part and just going for the academic part is kind of a tough one for people to swallow, because that was the entertainment, and since they don't have too much other entertainment because of, you know, the whole social distancing, things are canceled, that is an issue. So I know, tough one.
And don't you also hear that, because we thought of this, you know, this summer as everyone's deciding, well, what's it going to look like for the fall? When the world went to lockdown, shutdown, stay at home, be safe. Oh, wait a minute. Was that when the parents were homeschooling? Right? Wasn't that the problem in the spring? They had to teach. Anyway, but they were home though, right? So parents were home, kids were home. So there was that monitoring, quote unquote monitoring. But now many parents either had to go back to work or had the option to go back to work, and you know, I'm lucky, right? I'm old and my kids are married and I have babies and whatnot, but I can't imagine what it's like to teach from home, to work from home with children. I know what it's like to work from home with a husband, but children too, right? It is just such a strange time.
Agreed. I have a sister-in-law who is a science teacher in New York, and they all decided, you know, they all went to their cabin. They moved out of Manhattan so that they could be safe. and they're all at home trying to be online. So my husband or my brother-in-law works like, as a finance person, and she's a teacher, and they had 2 children who are in school and 1 preschooler. And this year, quite frankly, she took a sabbatical because she said there is just no way that I can do it all, and she's also back for her PhD at the same time now. So she actually ended up taking a sabbatical, but it is something that it's a hard time for parents too, because they've suddenly been thrust into a different role too of trying to be a teacher / monitor, so
Right.
yeah, it's really crazy, and all I can keep saying is just that we need to give each other grace, I mean, not only for teachers but for parents too. And I do wonder if there's going to become a better appreciation for teachers that's coming out of this, perhaps, as well.
I'm sure we'll get a signing bonus or something, right?
That would be nice.
From your lips to God's ears.
That's right. My extended contract and hard work. Thank you for the 20 CEUs, but if you could put a $500 check with it, Christmas is coming, right?
I was just gonna say, if you meant by signing bonus, like a thank you email, perhaps.
I love that. I am going to just kind of show my screen one more time here to talk a little bit about taking care of you. That's such a nice lead in there, because we do want to take care of you. So we have some webinars or workshops very similar to this style, that they're only an hour long because we realize you don't have a lot of time. But we have self-care for educators, and it's with Rachel Cox Raverty, who is one of our behavioral analysts at the co-op. So if you have time, I would really highly suggest that you come to that one to just learn a little bit more about how you can take care of yourself to make sure that you are well through this pandemic. And then the afternoon session on the same day with Rachel is about the social and emotional needs of students. So if you're able to attend either one of those, that's next week already. We can, you can come to the live session, or if it just doesn't work out, you can sign up to watch the recording as well, because we will record those sessions. Later in November, we have small group instruction in a socially distanced world. We're going to let teachers lead that, share ideas of what's worked, what hasn't worked, and we can learn from one another. We do have ELA standards, so that we have a session on that. And then on the 24th, right before Thanksgiving break, I'm doing one on distance learning tips and tricks. So please know that you are welcome to any and all of those discussions and webinars. I'm just wondering, are any of you planning, or either one of you planning on going to the NSTA conference or the MNSTA conference that's scheduled? And those are both virtual, I believe. So just wondered if either one of you are going to that or planning on attending.
How do we sign up for that?
If you go to these slides, I do have it linked to those graphics,
Okay.
so you're able to go through that. Yeah. I just think, without having to have travel time, you might have higher attendance at some of these because there is no travel time. So that's something. And I kind of did take a peek at some of the sessions for the NSTA one. I just thought, wow, there are a ton of sessions, and on every topic underneath the sun. And actually, same thing with the MSTA one, MNSTA, some really good sessions. So, and I did notice that they were not during school times either, the sessions of quite a few of them. So, I know that that's just more of your time. I do understand that, but at the same time, you can, go to the ones that you want, and you're not committed to a full day or a full evening. You can just kind of cherry pick and choose which ones you want. So I would encourage you, they've got great resources at both of those sites. I actually got a membership to these, and man, I love it. I absolutely love it. There's a lot of resources out there, especially now with distance learning being more than normal. A lot of things are geared towards that. So I encourage you to look at that. And then there is a virtual fall educator forum that's actually next Wednesday, sponsored by Math Minnesota. So again, if you want to register, that one's an evening one or afternoon 4:30 to 7:31. So there's some more professional development opportunities for you. One last thing that we do have, it's in the slides again, is someone had created this self-care for teachers kind of a document, and when you can see that the hand turns, you can select things. So you can go to different ideas and different things you can do to try to take care of yourself. So if you're in slide presentation, you can click on like the Kleenex box will take you to somewhere about your emotional needs, and you click on the pet and it talks about different ways and different ideas of taking care of yourself. So I encourage you to explore that. And then if you would have one last thing, we have an evaluation we would love for you to fill out, because this is a brand new way of delivering these types of workshops. Normally we are face-to-face, so we really want to know what your thoughts are. It only takes about a minute to fill the evaluation out if you click on that link, and then Carrie did put it in the chat room as well, to please fill that out, because we're going to take that feedback to the principals now in November and say, here's what your teachers are saying and thinking, and we have to make a decision of how we're going to continue on with the collaborative workshops after the Christmas break. So we really highly, highly, highly value your opinion. So fill that out. We would certainly appreciate that. So we're almost right to 8:30. So does either one of you have any more questions or anything comments that you would like to share with us?
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate that, like you said, it's an hour, and I'm really fortunate that, so we start our day at 8 with an advisory. So I had my Google Meet up and had warned the kids to just type your name in the chat. That's all you got to do today. So that it really, and then I go to my prep afterwards. So this time worked really well for me. And I'll be honest, I was like, I think I'm too busy. I think I have too much going on, and there's always grading, right? Something. And we have conferences. We go tonight, so we teach till 4. And then conferences start at 4:30 to 8:30. So it's like, but Karen, you have a great soothing voice. So I appreciated the conversation we had. And the information that was shared. So I'm glad that I could sit here and really, this for me is taking time for myself. It's not a hot tub. It's not a massage, but it wasn't planning, grading, meeting, even though I was on the phone a couple times. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that too. And I have to say, I love your glasses. Those are awesome.
Dollar store, anything that can help me see small print early in the morning.
Truth. Well, thank you both for attending today. We appreciate all the hard work that you're doing. So please take care of yourselves, and we hope to see you again in another workshop soon.
All right. Thank you.